we're talking about Thanksgiving. We're talking about being grateful. I'm just grateful that there's no more elections, and I'm grateful that I get to do this podcast with you. I'm grateful for all the amazing people who get to be a part of our communities and people at the arena.
I think it's amazing that we live in a country that actually has a national holiday built around gratitude.
I know there's a lot of controversy around Thanksgiving.
Because humans are imperfect and all of human history is tainted. There is no perfect human history. What people have forgotten that this country has constantly moved toward freedom, toward equality, toward the best expressions of humanity.
You're listening to the Mindshift podcast. My name is Erwin McManus. I'm here with my dad, Erwin McManus. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I see that you have a new family member.
Yes. I got a new dog. It's exciting.
He barely qualifies for a dog.
No, he's definitely a dog. He might be a large hamster. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, and his name is?
Don't worry about it. No, it was fun. So our last episode, we did like a day in the life vlog. Mm-hmm. You told me that you had so many podcasts and you were feeling a little bit sick. So you sat out last week. And so I took the boys, we went to Orange County to the airport to pick up this dog that was flying in. And it was kind of a cute little episode.
So our Mindshift community has already met.
I haven't told anybody his name, so we're bleeping out the name.
Okay, has already met.
What? Yeah, so they've already met the pup. So he was on YouTube. So if you're curious and want to see that episode, that was last episode. Did you watch that episode?
I just watched clips of it.
Okay. So we talked about perfection and greatness, and a lot of it was based off of our conversation from Mexico City with the staff down there.
I loved what you had to say about that. That's really, really good.
It was interesting. It was, I think, you were in the conversation with me on the rooftop in Roma. We were talking about perfection and greatness, and I referenced that TikTok video of the Goo Goo Dolls singer and Iris. So if you haven't checked out that episode, it's a good episode. But this week is Thanksgiving.
It is. And when this episode comes out, we will already be full and fat and reflective.
I will be eating leftovers on Friday morning when this episode releases.
All right, so what do you think, percentage-wise? How many people actually like turkey?
0%?
I like turkey. I like turkey.
Oh, okay.
But I find more and more that people who grew up eating turkey actually then become adults and say, I actually don't like turkey for Thanksgiving. So they now go in my direction with a prime rib, or they do a ham or something else.
Yeah, if you're listening to this episode, what do you guys like to eat? Do you eat a turkey on Thanksgiving? We deep fry a turkey.
And I love it.
The deep frying, I love. That's some redneck country hick stuff.
That's Arkansas. We married into Arkansas.
I married nobody.
Well, Mariah married Jake.
Yes.
And Jake's family is from Arkansas.
Yes.
And they taught us the magic of deep fried turkey.
Yes. And one time I did it without you guys. I had my old team from Venice at your house, and we almost lit the house on fire.
It looks like a dangerous process.
It is a dangerous process.
I think you have to have some country in you to be able to do that well.
So are you a turkey guy or a ham guy?
I've never been a ham guy.
So are you so turkey, ham, you go turkey.
I go turkey.
Okay, so let's play a little game, okay?
Is this like the Brad Pitt, George Clooney thing?
We'll play this little game. Okay, so Thanksgiving meal, what is it called? Like poll.
Yeah.
Turkey or ham?
Turkey.
Turkey or prime rib?
Prime rib.
Prime rib.
If it's rare.
What do you mean if it's rare?
If it's perfectly cooked, rare, bloody, hot, but really, really, really.
Are you like a horseradish guy?
I love horseradish.
How do you make your horseradish?
Well, I kind of combine a horseradish cream with a pure horseradish sauce that's just
like more
pure,
great. Like
it's just
grade.
Pure horseradish. And then I blend it together to create the right mix of punch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've already ordered them because I always wake up to a text on Thanksgiving Day. Yo, you got to go to Ralph's and pick up horseradish, and then it's always gone. It's just me hitting 7 Ralphs trying to figure out. So thank God for the Orthodox Jewish community in our neighborhood. They don't shut down on Thanksgiving Day. But if I go to the wrong neighborhood, there's nothing open. So
yeah, but I love cranberries, the cranberry sauce, the cranberry jelly, the combination of the cranberry relish.
Okay.
I love Thanksgiving, and even though I say prime rib, when you bring that turkey and you add the gravy and you add the stuffing and the green beans, it's just magic. I mean, I love America.
Okay. So if you're listening to this episode, and I imagine if you're hearing me, you are. Let us know. One, are you a turkey, a ham, turkey? What is it?
Prime rib.
Prime rib. I want to say roast beef. It's such a weird ad. And then list your favorite. What is it, like side dish? What's your dish that you're famous for? One time, I tried to make Yorkshire pudding because my story. My mother loves all things British, and you love a Yorkshire pudding.
I love.
So we came back from England last year, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make Yorkshire pudding. Yorkshire pudding's tricky. Didn't realize you can just buy like those little, Pillsbury Doughboy rolls you can just throw in the oven. You can do those with Yorkshire pudding. I try to do it the real way, the Martha Stewart way, whatever the British version of Martha Stewart is. And I lit the oven on fire last year.
Yeah, you were not Gordon Ramsay when you were making.
No, but Mom also has this, like, she's so scared of, I don't know what happened to her.
She's afraid of fire.
She's so scared of fires.
Yeah.
So she smells smoke, takes a level 2 situation to a level 10 situation in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden fire extinguishing that oven. Yeah. And I was like, what? We didn't have to do all that. So I'm scrubbing this oven for the next 4.5 hours. I think on Thanksgiving Eve last year. Yeah, it was not so fun. So
yeah, for the first 20 years of our marriage, we knew dinner was ready when the bread burnt. She'd yell, open the oven, you could smell you see the smoke just coming out.
It was a family tradition.
It was carbon was the closure. It's time to eat.
Yeah. Hey Siri and like Amazon Alexa has been a game. Whoa, that's weird. It turned on. It's been a game changer for Mom because she'll just, now she has the timers going. But yeah, I don't know if you're out there and you're doing Thanksgiving. We're just glad you're listening to this episode. Maybe you're on a turkey trot. Maybe you're not even in the U.S. But a couple exciting things.
Yeah.
Can we do some life updates?
Yeah, but I do want to say I think it's amazing that we live in a country that actually has a national holiday built around gratitude.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine like the Soviet Union or even the Republic of China or North Korea or, so many other countries having a national holiday around the cultural value of gratefulness. And I think sometimes we just don't appreciate the unique things that have helped shape the culture of this country.
I mean, it's such an interesting, and then I know that there's a lot of controversy around Thanksgiving.
Of course,
because
humans are imperfect and all of human history is tainted. There is no perfect human history. What people have forgotten is that we should not be looking for a perfect American history. We should be looking at a progressive American history. That this country has constantly moved toward freedom, toward equality, toward the best expressions of humanity, toward freedom, toward global responsibility. Nations that become empires don't do that. Do you realize that there is a certain point in human history where the United States was not the most powerful nation in the world? It was more powerful than all the nations in the world and did not choose to try to conquer the world. I think sometimes
one could say that we did economically, in a way.
Well,
or in a military function.
Yeah, but when you look at that, like even economically, we defeat Germany and we defeat Japan, and they become two of the greatest economic powers in the world because this nation did not have a mental framework of conquest and destruction, but of defeating evil and then recreating a new nation for the people that they defeated. And so Germany and Japan become our two greatest allies, and they become two of the greatest economies in the world because they were defeated by the United States of America and Great Britain. If they had been defeated by Russia or China, they would have had a different future.
We went to a lot of sports games this weekend.
Yeah.
So many sports.
Yeah.
LAFC just got beat in the playoffs against the Seattle Sounders.
And the referees.
And okay, but we're not here to talk about that. But I thought this was interesting. Where the national anthem comes on.
Yeah.
And everyone stops. Everyone takes their hats off. And there's like a section of the crowd that's chanting the entirety of the anthem free Palestine, which was crazy. I'm gonna say that it was probably the Seattle Sounders fan section, but
it seemed like
or it might have been like outside in that direction, but it was definitely in that like corner of the stadium. And that was really interesting because free Palestine. I don't know that if you live in an Islamic state that you can really truly be free or have freedom of thought or freedom of speech. I guess everyone could have freedom of thought to some degree, but to actually verbalize what they think is a different story. But I found it oddly disrespectful, wildly disrespectful, not oddly disrespectful. And it was interesting. It did not convert me in the way that I think they intended. I don't think signs of disrespect against another country makes anyone more interested in whatever it said thing that they're talking about, right?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they're chanting free Palestine here in the United States because Hamas would never free Palestine. The only chance for Palestine to ever be free is if the United States intervenes in some way, because it will never be freed by any Islamic state.
No,
I'm just saying.
No, absolutely.
That you can chant that in the Middle East and you're not going to get the result you want.
Yeah. But I find it really interesting. I was on the phone with a friend in England, and it wasn't McLaren, so don't worry. It wasn't McLaren. Not that we would be worried. But the team on the Mosaic side, people are split. And you had someone yesterday. I'm gonna skip my story and go to your story. Yesterday at Mosaic, a young person came up to you and kind of got in your face about not talking enough about the conservative right.
She actually said, "You're pandering to the liberals," and I'm trying to figure out where I did.
You made a joke because yesterday was our Foundation Sunday, so we're calling people to give
at Mosaic.
At Mosaic, and it was a great. I think people don't realize, but Mosaic's a pretty small budget when it comes to church. You have Gateway, and you have these massive churches all over the South and in Texas that are $100 million plus budgets. We probably is like. Mosaic's probably like a $6 million or $7 million budget. It's relatively small, but great for a major city, or decent for a major city, but makes doing big things hard. Yeah. So every year we have a giving season, like most organizations, from usually around October, November to end of the year, December, to get end of the year gifts. So if you're here, you're listening, and you're compelled to give, Mosaic is a great place to build and give. You made this joke in your talk where you talked about. Because LA is a predominantly liberal city, but there's a lot more conservatives popping up here than you'd expect. Yeah. And you made a joke, and do you want to set that conversation?
Which joke?
Well, you talked about how it's interesting that the left was able to raise $1 billion.
Well, that wasn't a joke. That was an observation. It just came across like a joke. Yeah. I was actually saying, this is why I'm going, wait a minute, how was I pandering to liberals? I was actually being really hard on all the liberals in our church, because I said, you can look economically across America. Conservatives simply give more money. They just simply give more money to humanitarian projects.
It's data-driven. That's not us. It's not our opinion. That's just data.
That's the data that drives me nuts. And I said, so here we are. We started a community faith in one of the most liberal places in the world. And once again, it's proven the people who come to Mosaic who are liberal tend to give almost zero. Yeah. And the people who come to Mosaic who are conservative tend to give all the money.
Very true.
And I said, so for a long time, I thought, well, maybe you're liberal, you just didn't have any money, but you raised $1 billion in 100 days for the Democratic Party for Kamala's campaign. So I know you have the money. It's just a reminder that we give to what we care about. So I was making that point. It wasn't a political point. It was, we always find money for the things we actually love, right? For the things we actually care about. Right. And that is, to me, an important reminder that it really is true, that saying about putting your money where your mouth is. You can know what you care about by what you give to. So if anything, I didn't pander to the left. I was spanking the left, going, you say you're about compassion, and you say you're humanitarian, you say that you care about these issues, but the reality is that you want other institutions to do the work that we're actually called to do. And because I believe in proactive activist compassion in the world and doing things that matter and helping people. So that I was actually just saying that and saying, but we made the choice to be here in LA to reach people that were harder to reach than anyone in anywhere else. And
why do you think that people in LA are harder to reach than anywhere else?
For so many reasons. One reason is that they're culturally further to the left. So they tend to be a-religious, tend to be more atheistic or agnostic or anti-religious because they may have had terrible experiences as children growing up in church. And but whatever journey they're on, they tend to be very not just neutral, but anti-faith. And then on top of that, because they're politically on the left and they see Christianity as dominantly politically on the right, they think that a conversation about Jesus is actually a conversation about Trump or a conversation about Bush. And they don't understand that Jesus is not a Democrat or a Republican. He's not a liberal or conservative. He's the savior of humanity. It's a whole different conversation. But yeah, so that was a very interesting conversation for me with this probably 22-year-old girl.
What'd you say to her? 22? Why is she even talking to you? Not in a mean way, but like, how'd she even get to you?
Because there is something generationally about people in their 20s who are so arrogant.
Yeah.
That they actually think that they must be heard. And instead of asking me a question, it would have been fine if she had come and asked me a question. She didn't come asking me a question. She came saying, why are you pandering to liberals? And then she actually said, don't you want conservative money? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She was so irrational, and that there was just no way of actually having a conversation with her. But I asked her, where are you from? She said, Louisiana. And I said, well, we're really not trying to reach Louisiana. We're trying to reach LA. And I was just trying to say, look, you're from a very different culture. And you're trying to reinterpret Los Angeles through your framework. And probably she comes from a church that is so strongly to the right that it's integrated into her faith. And they probably aren't trying to communicate with people outside of the church and outside of faith. And here I'm actually trying to make who Jesus is and what he said relevant and accessible to people who are really far away from God. So we don't usually talk about that on the Mindshift podcast, but it was an very, very interesting conversation. I must be doing something right. I get hate mail from the right and from the left. I get people who are upset with me on both sides of the political spectrum, so I feel like I must be doing something right. Or maybe something completely wrong.
Yeah, more of that, I think. Yeah. But yes, better. Yeah, that's good. You got there. All
right, there you go.
That girl's an idiot, but that's fine. We don't have to label people an idiot. But just a good reminder of like anyone who comes up and doesn't ask a question. I always find it really unique. There's massive money in the church, right? Mm-hmm. This is something I have to explain to like friends all the time. Mm-hmm. But it ain't at Mosaic. So, and I think conservative money, she brings up an interesting point. Most of these big organizations will work with guys they feel more safe with.
Yeah.
People who ironically pander to the Christian language.
Yeah.
And pander to the right. Mm-hmm. I am a very conservative person. If people listen to the podcast and they would know I'm pretty conservative. Mm-hmm. You're a little bit more libertarian, open-minded. But the irony is that we're kind of untouchable in that way because we don't use the language that makes those guys feel comfortable.
Yes.
And we see guys go and work with those people, and they're like, I'm sure that there's some amazing people on that side as well. But it always is odd because I'm like, we're really in the thick of it. Like we have some of the most unique situations in the world. I get why Mosaic's not for everyone, but I do think the message is something that really should get out to the world. So we're talking about Thanksgiving, we're talking about being grateful. I'm just grateful that there's no more elections. Elections are done. And I'm grateful that I get to do this podcast with you. I'm grateful for all of the amazing people who get to be a part of our communities and people at the arena. Mm-hmm. Shout out to the arena crew. Shout out to Brendon Burchard and becoming just a really good friend. We have to talk about that.
Yes.
Well, two things, because we got sidetracked. It's my fault. We've already sold out of 2 of our prints for 7 frequency.
Yeah.
Which, like, for us, like, we're having to print a lot more every time.
Yep.
Because we're a small print publishing house. So we're printing in the tens of thousands, where most publishers do one big print and then a ton of small prints every week or every other week kind of thing. So we're about to go into our 3rd printing, which is really amazing. So congrats on that. 7 frequencies.
It's so exciting.
Communication. Yeah. Yes. And so if you haven't picked it up, you haven't read it, you have to. You got to send it to a friend. We're going to do some Black Friday stuff this next week. So really be paying attention to, ErwinMcManus.com, the podcast. But something very exciting as well is your friend, our friend, Brendon Burchard, who spoke at the arena, who was one of the most incredible sessions we've ever experienced.
Yeah.
He is a marketing genius and an amazing high performance coach. He hits you up and wants to do something special. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, he wants to do some events together and make it a consistent rhythm of creating experiences for people in the business world. But we came up with a one-time event this December the 6th. That would be our prototype. And he's going to fly into LA. We're going to do an all-day leadership development session from 9 to 5 on Friday. It'll be the first Friday in December. And he'll teach for several hours. I'll teach for several hours. Then we're going to come together, and him and I will have a conversation around the topics and subjects that we've unwrapped. You're going to guide us through a Q&A and
with the audience,
also with you. I think you'll have some great questions.
But there's gonna be a really cool live Q&A with both of you on stage, and then we're gonna be in the audience.
And we're gonna engage the audience. Yeah, it's gonna be incredible.
Yeah.
And we're creating a lot of time for connection and networking for everyone who comes from the business world.
Yes. So this is very exciting. Essentially, we are doing what we did at the Arena Conference, but here in Hollywood at our location at Mosaic. It's $199. It is last minute. It's December 6th. And getting on the phone with Brendon, he was so excited.
Yeah.
And being on the phone with you, and then their team is amazing. And the outcome and goal for this is to create incredible value and content for anyone who wants to engage.
Yeah. So, we are doing a VIP ticket for $1,500 that includes lunch with me and Brendon at a time you can interact with us more personally.
And like a private Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the general admission, it's $199. It's a really incredible value. And as this one goes extremely well, because we expect it's going to be fantastic, Brendon and I are going to do some others in 2025. But don't miss the first one. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting things that we've created.
Yes, it's definitely the ground up. So this is very cool. So the link is going to be in the bio of this episode. It's going to be at the top of the bio, so you don't have to scroll down. It's going to be right there. But also follow us on Instagram. Go to erwinmcmanus.com. There's going to be some info there as well. But this one day with Brendon and Erwin is going to be really, really fun. I'm very excited. I hope we dive deeper into some 7 frequency stuff. We'll be sending people the assessment, which would be fun. But yeah, man, I'm grateful we get to do this podcast together.
It's going to be so cool. And by the way, you may have already picked it up, but on Tuesday, right before Thanksgiving, Ed Milet dropped a podcast with me and himself talking about the 7 frequencies of communication. It has a lot of interesting nuances in it. He asked a lot of great questions, and we even dealt with his frequencies on the podcast. So if you haven't picked it up yet, go to Ed Milet and pick up that podcast.
I mean, it's cool because you've been on Tim Ross in the basement. You've had Ed Milet take the assessments, and you've been on his podcast. And then you've had Lewis Howe take the assessment, and they're going to be on his podcast in December. So you have these really cool like flagship podcasts representing the 7 frequencies and deep diving. You know, the hook of Tim Ross's pod was what is it? I lost my faith.
And I'm going, wait.
It's the most clickbaity.
Oh my gosh! I looked at that. Where did I put my faith? I thought I lost my wallet. I didn't know I lost my faith.
You did lose your wallet on that trip.
Yeah. But I understand why they do that. It's to get people to click in and listen.
Click in, and, you know.
But
rile up the Christians, you know.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was a little embarrassed. I thought, well, I never lost my faith in Jesus, but I did lose my faith in myself, and so I do think that there's something there.
There is something there. Okay, so wrapping up this episode, thank you so much. What I'm grateful for the team. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the arena. I'm grateful that elections are over, and I'm just excited for the future. What about you?
I am so excited. I already have topics that I want to talk about on our next podcast.
What are you grateful for?
I cannot wait. I am grateful to Brendon Burchard and for being excited about coming and creating content for people together. Really grateful for Ed Milet inviting me to have this conversation with millions of people around the world. But really, I'm grateful for you. The way you have driven the Arena Publishing and have launched this book in a way that I've never had a book launched in my life. If I had known that what my books actually needed was your leadership and your entrepreneurship, I would have just waited 20 years to start writing books.
I appreciate that. No, I think we are you're cashing in the influence and the investment you've made over the last 40 years in people's lives. But we are pound for pound far more powerful than Penguin, than Random House, than Cachette, or is it Cachette? All of them, Paradigm. I'll take them all 1v1. You
are so competitive.
I'm so competitive. No, I'm a dog. I love all the people we've worked with. Like, honestly, I love Andy Stoddard. I love these guys. Like, they're amazing, but there's no question. No. Lightweight division, we'll take on everybody.
You are more powerful when you are 100% committed to your message and to your product.
But that's the thing we've been learning, because it's no one else's problem except for ours.
It is our problem because it's our message.
Yes.
It's our passion, so we have to pay the price to get it out to the world.
Yes. And I would just appreciate all the people who've opened doors.
Yeah.
You know, because all these same guys that we're talking about, they've answered so many questions of ours and given us so many like directions on like how to scale or how to do this and how to build these infrastructures. And so it's like, you know, it's that's been really cool to watch people before us. And so I'm really grateful to all those guys.
Doesn't hurt that you have that commander frequency though.
What do you mean? What?
You're just driven to take the ship into the ocean,
you know,
and go through the storm.
I will shout out the team. We for the better half of this year, we were just in problem solve mode. Yeah. You know, let's find it. Let's Google it. Like, how many times it was like, okay, Google, we got to figure this out. Yeah. Who sells books in airports? Oh, we figured out Hudson. You know, like we've just been thing after thing. So, man.
And I know you and I have talked this. We're so grateful for Austin.
So grateful for Austin.
And so grateful for Jacob. And
we got a great team, Elisa and Hanita and that whole crew. Yeah, very excited.
Yeah, they make it better and they make it more fun.
Okay, so if you're listening to this, in the comments, I want to know a few things. I want to know what you're grateful for. And other than the podcast, obviously, I want to know what you're grateful for. I want to know favorite Thanksgiving dish. I want you guys to let us know what we should talk about more. And, you know, thanks. Subscribe, rate and review. Check out the One Day with Brendon and Erwin. And if you haven't picked up the copy of the book, pick it up. 7 Frequencies of Communication.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving. Amazing.